And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some snippets from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening anywhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And you can find me on Rumble, and that is Coffee Talk 2 on Rumble as we get ready to jump off into the realm of the ridiculous. Hopefully everything looks and sounds clear today. I'm always worried about it because every once in a while there is a glitch. And again, as long as the audio is good, that'll have to be good enough. Being joined today by Miss Kitty. Actually, that's Miss Kitty laying in the chair behind me. And I'll say hello here. I see Tuck is there. It says doctor's appointment. I don't know if anyone else is there. Is the comments working? And someone please do let me know if things are coming through. Yeah, I'm not seeing any comments at all. So something must be up. Because I'm looking at the side here. And I can see on the other monitor that there is comments. I see Raccoon, Dragon, Marvel Fan, Helter, Brian. Raccoon says I could be seen and heard, but comments are not working on my end for some reason. I'm not sure what the problem is. Here we go. Now they just popped up. Okay. JJ, Dragon, Helder, Brian, Jeff. There we go. Now we got it going. I don't know what the problem was. Marvel Fan, Raccoon, Country. Okay. Got it sorted out. Before we get going here, I don't have a story pulled up, but I just wanted to throw it out there. We talked about the Tesla attacks yesterday. And it's come to my attention that if someone is charged with domestic terrorism, they can end up in El Salvador because there's a provision for that. And I'm like, holy crap, can you imagine? Can you imagine your marshmallow, I don't know what gender I am, liberal arts major who decided to throw a Molotov cocktail at a charging station, ending up in El Salvador? I think they would have a heart attack and die in the first 3 days. Oh my God. Can you imagine? And Fluke Man is here, says, everyone please thumbs up. Yeah, please do if you don't mind. I'll take all the thumbs up I can get. But I had come across that earlier today, and I was like, really, there's an opening for that? They could, if they're charged with domestic terrorism, they could actually end up in El Salvador in the prison, in that prison complex. Oh my God, these people are, I mean, that's a supermax for the worst of the worst. These goofballs over here doing this wouldn't last the day. They wouldn't last the day. Marvel Fan said that should be enough to make these weirdos stop. And I see Lucky is here. And Sven is here. He says, I think you mean breaking necks and cashing checks. JJ said, my concern about this is how the left would use it against us when they return to power. That's a good point. Fluke Man says, can't complain, plenty of sunshine, free food, housing, and 24/7 security. No sunshine. They're not allowed outside the building, remember? They can never leave the building. So no sunshine, no fresh air. 3 hots in a cot, maybe. But no sunshine. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Forget it. So as we get ready to jump into the first actual story here, as being suggested by the New York Post, and I suppose this could kind of tie in. It says far left organizations are soiling legitimate protests with outside agitators looking for a real fight. Are you sure that the people that are there aren't already looking for a real fight? Goes on to say Greenpeace backed radical protesters who tried to block a North Dakota pipeline. Now the pipeline company has won huge damages in a lawsuit against the iconic NGO. Other nonprofits should take notice. That's true. They did win that lawsuit earlier this week, or last week, rather. Last week, a jury in Mandan, North Dakota, returning a stunning verdict against Greenpeace for its role in the violent protests and misleading public relations campaign that disrupted construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline in 2016. The jury hearing the civil lawsuit found Greenpeace USA and two other Greenpeace entities liable for civil conspiracy, defamation, trespass, and other to pay $67 million damages to Energy Transfer, the pipeline company that built and owns the DAPL. So the thing is, you're seeing, again, there are protests, not just this one, not just the Greenpeace protest, but you're seeing protests for the environment. You're seeing protests for BLM, for Palestine, all across the country. And yeah, they are all fueled by agitators, but they couldn't do it if that element wasn't already present in those people. Because all they have to do is research anything that's going on and realize that they're being led down the wrong path and walk away, but they don't do it. Furthermore, a lot of young people, they want to be part of something because they feel like they've wasted their lives already, even though they're young. They know, so in the back of their mind, subconsciously, they know they went through public school, they're in college, they're in university. Something in the back of their mind is telling them this is all a waste and you're accomplishing nothing. So often they'll latch onto anything. They'll latch onto anything. And it's usually the wrong thing because they're young, and young people are not that smart. I know, I used to be one. I mean, anybody who is old enough knows that when they were young, they weren't that bright, if they're being honest. Made too many mistakes, didn't listen to people when they had a chance. And companies and organizations and activists and politicians will take advantage of that. Take advantage of that stupidity. But there has to be a seed of it there already, of ignorance or hatred or violence, a seed of something for them to latch onto. And I see Monkey is here. Flukeman said no windows. No. No. Well, we saw video footage of tours of the inside of that facility. We showed them last week. There's no windows in there. No windows. So no sunshine, no fresh air, unfortunately. And there is Tuck. JJ says, I still consider myself a dimwit. Hey, I feel you. I feel that way sometimes myself. It's like, because I'm not, I sit there and I say all the time, people are not that smart. As a matter of fact, most people are pretty freaking stupid. But I have to count myself in there because I've made too many mistakes. So I'm not standing on a pedestal looking down at people saying, I dare you to touch me with a 10-foot pole. Now, I've made a lot of screw ups, and it's taken a lot to learn enough to get where I am. And it is what it is. It is what it is. But one of the things I have realized is, wow, mankind is not that bright after all. I mean, yeah, we have the ability to make tools and we have the ability to reason and philosophize. But all in all, the majority of us are not that freaking bright. And you have to You have to be willing to take that with a grain of salt. But if you realize that, it slows you down enough that you start looking at things differently. And that will make you smarter. Brian says, I know that I'm smart. I try. I sure try. But yeah, New York Post suggesting far left organizations soiling legitimate protests. They don't have to do that much to soil it. The far left organizations don't have to do that much to soil it. Because again, people are angry, people are stupid, people are mean. That's an unhealthy combination, and it's easy to manipulate. It's easy to manipulate. Yeah, there you go. Tuck says, I'm never wrong. Once I thought I was, but I was mistaken. You sound like Hillary Clinton. Hey, Miss Kitty. I see you sitting up there, honey. What are you doing? She doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know what she wants. She's probably just going to resettle there. Yeah, that sounds like something Hillary Clinton would say, like when she was asked about lying. I don't think I've ever told a lie in my life. Wow. I wish lightning would strike when people said stuff like that. It would save us all the headache. Can you imagine the audacity? And she thinks people believe her. Well, and again, there are a lot of people who are not that smart. So there are many who will believe that. There are many who sit there, oh, Hillary, oh, you're so honest and brave and stunning. She's never told a lie in her life. She said so in a television interview. Must be the truth. Must be. Why would she lie on TV? Why would Hillary Clinton lie to you? Come on now. Why would she lie? Country Living says, I'm always right sometimes. Yeah. And Flukeman said, never lied even as a kid, ? Yeah. Well, if you told a joke, you lied. If you exaggerated, you lied. I mean, no matter how honest you try to be, there are slips. You know what I mean? It's easy to exaggerate something or leave something out, exclude something. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But she said that in an interview. She said that in an interview a couple of years ago. I don't think I've ever told a lie in my life. Seriously, lady, you've told so many lies, it's not even funny, and dangerous things. You've lied about things that are critical, things that have gotten people killed. Like that whole bit about that embassy that was raided. A lot of lies were thrown around that day. You remember the embassy that was raided. And the strike team that was right up the street that wasn't allowed to proceed. Monkey says it's good to be honest. It's never good to be too honest. Well, the drawback with that is no one will like you. No, because everybody, that's the thing. You could ask people, you want me to tell you what you want to hear or you want the truth? And everybody will always pick the truth, but they don't really want to hear it because they're going to get upset. And Raccoon says Benghazi, correct. Correct. That was the Benghazi incident. They were really trying to cover for the fact that that some warheads went missing, and one of them was used on American assets that were under the control of the CIA at the time. And they allowed all that to happen to cover it up. There's some real interesting theories about that. I would love for that to come to light. But, moving on to the thumbnail. And by the way, and I'll mention this again later, I will not be on Friday. Friday, I will not be on. So I'm taking that day off. Way too much to do on Friday. Way too much to do. But alluding to the thumbnail, and this is a Western Journal article, and this is breaking news. This came down the pipe within the last 24 hours. Nome makes biggest FEMA announcement in history. The agency will be eliminated. That's right. It's next in the sights. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said during a cabinet meeting Monday that she plans to nix the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Noem announced that she was going to eliminate FEMA, but did not immediately provide details about the future of the disaster response agency, according to a report from Daily Beast. The outlet noted that both she and President Trump have suggested that states could exercise more control over disaster relief rather than having a federal entity manage the response. FEMA is currently an agency under the Department of Homeland Security. Noem said last month during an interview with CNN she wants to get rid of FEMA the way it exists today. I believe that he will do that evaluation with his team, and he's talking about it, which I am grateful for, Noem said when asked about if Trump was wanting to close the agency. He'll work with Congress, though, to make sure it's done correctly and that we're still there to help folks who have a terrible disaster or a crisis. He's been very clear he still believes there's a role for the federal government to come in and help people get back on their feet. The effort to end FEMA comes as Representative Jared Representative Reynolds, also from Florida, submitted a bill to turn FEMA into an independent agency that exists at the cabinet level, according to a report from Government Executive. And again, I mean, FEMA board. FEMA has made a lot of mistakes. And also FEMA has done a lot of DEI stuff. They were spending tens of millions of dollars on DEI training. There was the story we read last year about FEMA being exposed for not prioritizing any homes that had Trump for president signs in disaster areas, and for shifting maximum priority to people from the LGBT lifestyle, which completely conflicts with the idea of an open-ended disaster system that's supposed to be in place to help everyone and is supposed to triage and help people based on greatest need, not sexual preference and not political preference. So they already sank themselves with that. This is one of the main reasons that Trump painted a target on them. And also the massive failure in North Carolina, which they got nothing done in months. And then Trump went in and wiped it up in a couple of weeks because this FEMA had systems in place that could have done the job. They just didn't. Vitless says, if it wasn't already mentioned, first responders are forced to take FEMA classes. Interesting. And that's just a waste of additional funds. Money that could be better spent elsewhere. And the states could and should and probably would be better off managing things like that themselves. Keep your own money. Stop sending in money to FEMA and operate your own state disaster system. Makes a hell of a lot more sense. So a country says disaster relief would probably be better without them. JJ say, given the complete cluster in the way they handled North Carolina, probably did more damage than good by getting in the way of good Samaritans. Yeah, they did block a lot of people. Monkey says, I remember even the Amish volunteered to help rebuild in that part of North Carolina. And the government under Biden turned them away. Correct. And that's the old school way. Many of you might remember the great, or you probably don't remember, some of you might, the great San Francisco earthquake, which was what, 1906 or something? I'm trying to remember. But there was no federal disaster management. There was no federal government coming to sweep in and help. There was no state government to come in and sweep in and help. And like 90% of the city was destroyed. There was almost no buildings left standing. It was rubble and bodies. And they made it very clear. Everybody pitch in, let's clear it out. If you're not going to help, leave. And they rebuilt it. The citizens rebuilt that city. I think it was the Great San Francisco earthquake, correct? San Francisco earthquake. They did it themselves, but that was a different generation. That was a different generation. Yeah, Great San Francisco earthquake, 1906. I got the date right. 1906. 7.9. 7.9 on the Richter scale. And there was almost nothing left. There was almost nothing left standing. 3,000 people killed, 80%. 80% of the city was leveled. And they rebuilt that themselves. Brian said San Francisco is scary. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But apparently, FEMA now on the chopping block. FEMA is now on the chopping block because they have not demonstrated that they can do the job. They just look like more unnecessary government oversight, bureaucracy. Government loves creating middlemen to just waste money. Do we really need FEMA, or does it need to be as big as it is? Probably not. Probably not, and that's the question here. And in the past, disaster management has been handled better on the state level, and that's what the investigation was. Trump wanted to know that for sure. How did it look in major disasters, natural disasters, fires, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, before FEMA versus how it was managed afterwards? And was it done better at the state level then? And it looks like it was. We don't need all that bureaucracy. We don't need it. That's why the Department of Education is going away. That's why US aid is going away. You know, I saw an interview with Reagan, who said he wanted to do away with the Department of Education because he could already see that it was turning into a disaster. When he was president, he was like, I would like to just turn that off. Unfortunately, he didn't. He didn't. He tried to make some changes with it, but he didn't just kibosh it. And he should have. Flukeman says pre-2024 election, they refused to help people, had Trump signs. Yeah. Next election, you must have pro-Democrat sign or else you won't be allowed to be neutral. And Country says, I'll bet FEMA would go in and help San Francisco, being the political leanings of most of the residents. Yeah, nowadays. I have something else from San Francisco on here. It's a minor story. It's a minor story. But I could show it now since we're already talking about San Francisco. I just thought this was the most bizarre freaking thing. Okay? The most bizarre freaking thing. And if you're watching, I know some of you are listening and not able to see. If you're watching, get ready for a scary image. Okay? Can you guess who that is? Let's see who knows who this is. Let's guess who this is. Anybody know who that is? If you're in San Francisco, you know who this is. And I stumbled over this story. It's a little bit of an older story. Yeah, JJ, there you go. That is San Francisco's, yeah, Aracle says Roseanne. Raccoon says Gorlock. Oh, you guys. Monkey said a character from an 80s or 90s show. Sven said Chaz. In San Francisco, That is their health minister. That is the health czar for San Francisco. She works for the city in the Department of Health. There you go, Eric Peter, Hamburglar's sister. Oh, you guys. I'm not kidding. Look at this. San Francisco's weight czar declares no one has to be healthy. Virgie Tovar, San Francisco's anti-weight-based discrimination expert. San Francisco's new self-described anti-weight-based discrimination expert, catching attention online for a video where she insisted no one has to be healthy and speaking out against fat phobia. Virgie Tovar, a body positivity activist and author of You Have the Right to Remain Fat, made the remark in response to the question, what is your definition of health? In her YouTube video posted by cosmetics and beauty chain Ulta Beauty. You know, no one has to be healthy, right? There's no governing body. No one owes anybody that in either the traditional sense of the word or any other more innovative or more politicized version even of that word. After bringing in intersectionality, or in other words, experiencing inequality due to two or more aspects of social identity, such as race, disability, and sex, simultaneously, she continues. Look at the disabled community. I think people with disabilities have activists within that space that are saying, I'm never going to be your notion of healthy. That doesn't mean I don't get to be a full human and you get to treat me some kind of way. I love taking that principle within disability to fat activism and understanding the fatness. No matter what size you are, you don't owe anybody else your health. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Yeah, you guys are going off the hinges here now. Look at this. JJ says, and they bitch about RFK Jr. At least he's fit. Yeah. And she has, I've watched some of her video clips. After I ran across this, I watched some of her video clips. You have to see it to believe it. Big fake smile. She can't be happy. Talking about that you don't owe anybody on account of your health. And she wants in the state offices, okay, in state offices, you're not allowed to talk to anyone about exercise or healthy eating. I'm not making this stuff up. Look it up. See if you can find some of her video clips if you're interested. I'm serious. Yeah, Country says she looks like the picture of health. Indeed. Indeed. Oh my God. This is this is what we've been reduced to. You do owe other people your health. You ever watched My 600-Pound Life? Anybody here? I'm sure some of you have at least seen it or heard of it. Do you think any of those people work? Do you know what they do? They collect welfare and disability. They don't work. They can't. Not even at home. They lay in a bed. Some of these people, and I've seen them, damn near 1,000 pounds on this show. No exaggeration. 700, 800, 900 pounds. And all they do is eat and soil a mattress. And you're paying for it. Not only are you paying for them to get SSI, disability, and welfare, but also for health experts for these people, for dietitians to stop by, social workers to check up on them, physical therapists to show up and get thrown out. You ever known anybody who has worked with people like that are morbidly obese? Rude. They don't listen. And often weirdly sexually promiscuous, which is funny for someone who can't have sex. So yeah, it affects everybody. Plus their lifespan is shortened. And you're going to tell people on one of her talks, and by the way, she goes around to universities and gets paid to do seminars telling people to basically be fat and lazy and eat whatever they want and don't exercise. I'm not kidding. One of the things that she said was, I understand. I think I'm quoting this. I'm going to try. I understand that bodies are meant to be in motion, but the universe is in motion and you're moving by default. The earth is rotating, you're already moving. Okay, so since the earth is spinning, I can just lay here and I'm technically in motion. That's that's not the dynamic of how the human body works. It's not, you silly bitch. Dragon says their poor health is our concern. Our taxpayer dollars go to pay for health and repair the systems they use. Monkey says it's all fun and games, still the silent killer known as a heart attack. Yeah. JJ says, does she get mad about the tide coming in every time she waddles into the ocean? Flukeman says, not allowed to talk about healthy life, First Amendment. No kidding. No kidding. Country says, isn't a health czar supposed to support good health choices? You would think. You would think. But she says that she doesn't want fatness to be discriminated against, basically because she wants to be lazy and not change how she looks, how she eats. But they don't have any other pictures of her on here, right? Because some of her pictures, she's in like bikinis and stuff. It's really gross. She is extremely unhealthy. These people don't live long. They just don't. It's the truth. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. So she's upset about people fat shaming. So she's going to health shame. Jericho says that the place is circling the drain, no hope at all. Incredible. Incredible. Eric says, I know a couple who are exactly what you say. They also lack discipline with anything in life because it extends into everything. It contaminates everything around you. And I've talked about that sort of thing a lot. The whole concept of being a good steward, which is very biblical. When you read the parable of the good steward, remember, it's not necessarily talking about money. It's really everything. Everything you have, you should be a good steward of. Your home, your car, your body, your clothing, everything. Are you taking care of it all? The cats. If I wasn't taking good care of these cats, I wouldn't be a good steward. But it starts with you and it moves out. You can bless everything that's around you by being a good steward of yourself and by default making an effort to be a good steward of everything else that you do, or you can be a curse to everything around you and contaminate everything that you do. And that's why these people are not only obese, they're cruel and rude and filthy, and they live in squalor, and they waste resources, and they dump guilt trips on people, and on and on and on. There's nothing good that comes from them because there's nothing good within them, and they push that out on everybody. That negativity, it's like waves that just come off of someone. And she's championing this. Excuse me. She's championing that. And what's worse, it's bad enough that she's living that lifestyle, but she's out there trying to encourage other people to live that way. Trying to contaminate others directly. Brian says ScrewTube is deleting his comments again. Oh no. Raccoon says, I have a coworker whose wife is 62, 500 pounds. She works at home doing medical billing. She doesn't move from her bed. Oh, wow. Ladybug says you're being a good steward with your cats because others were not. That's true. Because, I mean, every feline I have was, well, almost every one that I have was either abandoned or abused or they were in an accident or something like that. Monkey, for example, I've mentioned before, was found inside the engine of a car as a kitten and burned, and someone from up the street brought him to me. Granny Smith was a feral who had a broken elbow, who was hobbling around. Even Miss Kitty, she's got a busted leg and scars all over her. I mean, people, they've been abused, they've been abandoned. People were not good stewards of those animals. I just enjoy taking care of them. Armand wants to know how we got here because somebody brought up San Francisco. Excuse me. JJ says, does that mean idiocy is contagious? Yes. And it's also part of what I alluded to when I talked about the Bible in one of the previous independent videos that I did on Coffee Talk, where sin, biblically speaking, is considered to be contagious because you can contaminate people with it by the things that you do and by the attitude that you project, which this is what this woman is doing. That's a sin. And she's contaminating others with it by trying to encourage them to be that way as well, with her big fake smile and pretending like that is so great. Far from it. It's freaking evil is what it is. And who doesn't understand? I mean, if you're healthy, you're going to be a happier person. If you're a happier person, you'll project that to others, and that can be a blessing to them. It could be, if they're willing to receive it. You can't make people receive anything from you really like that. But what makes you healthy? A good diet, healthy exercise, good sleep, stress-free or reduced stress environment, and so on. Cleanliness in your body and in your environment. People know this. They naturally know this. Raccoon says, I remember a couple of years ago, they put a heavy model on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I think that was a dude. Actually, because Sports Illustrated did that. They did that with a trans person. And they got a lot of backlash for it because that's not why people buy Sports Illustrated. Fluke Man said, another thing that pisses me off, the UK government forces us to pay for everyone's health services. UK South Asians, 5% of the population, but makes up for 70% of the kids with disabilities from marrying cousins. Weird. But yeah, there's your social medicine for you. There's your social medicine. Going to get back into regular news now that we took that bunny trail. Jericho says, sounds like clinically diagnosed narcissism. Well, deep down inside, she knows she's wrong. Okay? And it's just like a lot of people in the LGBT community or drag queens and stuff. They want to force you to accept them. It's because deep down inside, they know something is wrong and they don't want to admit it. So if they can force someone else to tell them that they're okay, it gives them some sense of justification. And that's all she's doing. That's all she's doing. We get into the New York Post article here. It says Trump administration, and this is coming down the pipe today too, moves to crack down on illegal migrants living in public housing. Wasteful misappropriation of taxpayer money. Yeah. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner announced Monday that their agencies will work together to prevent illegal migrants from living in public housing. The Trump administration, while everybody's claiming there's nowhere to live, now you know why. The Trump administration aims to end the wasteful misappropriation of taxpayer money going to subsidize housing for illegal migrants by having Department of Homeland Security identify illegal aliens who are ineligible for federal housing assistance to HUD, according to the new memorandum of understanding between the two agencies. American tax dollars should be used for the benefit of American citizens. Wow, that's a novel idea, especially when it comes to an issue as pressing as our nation's housing crisis. And again, what do you think caused part of that crisis? When did there start being a housing crisis? About 4 years ago? Turner said in a statement, this new agreement will leverage resources, including technology and personnel, to ensure American people are the only priority when it comes to public housing. We will continue to work closely with the Department of Homeland Security to maximize our resources and put American citizens first. The MOU indicates that veterans in need stand to benefit from the cooperation agreement, which will facilitate data sharing between HUD and DHS. And, they should have a priority. And veterans hospitals, that's one of the first questions they ask you when you go in. Do you have a place to stay? John says cat power. Yes, indeed, cat power. That's one of the first two questions. Whenever my wife goes into the VA, that's one of the first two questions they ask her. First three. The first question is if she has a place to stay, which of course, obviously she does. She's not homeless. Second question is if I'm abusing her. And then the third question is if there's any firearms in the house. Oh my God. And then the fourth one is if she's on any medications, which they should know anyways. JJ says, yeah, you'll be happier. You'll be able to fit through doors, not exceed weight limit of elevators, not have to be shipped as cargo when going on vacation. And you won't have to be weighed at the post office. Most hospitals don't have scales that go up that high. I've heard of people having to be weighed at the post office. Back to the article. The Biden administration prioritized illegal aliens over our own citizens, including by giving illegal aliens taxpayer funding, housing at the expense of Americans. Not anymore, Noem said in a statement. The entire government will work together to identify abuse and exploitation of public benefits and make sure those in this country illegally are not receiving federal benefits or other financial incentives to stay illegally. If you are an illegal immigrant, you should leave now. The gravy train is over. That is bold. HUD cited data from the Center for Immigration Studies showing that 59% of illegal migrant households benefited from at least one government welfare program, creating roughly $42 billion in annual costs. Yowza. $42 billion. The agency said there are at least 9 million residents of public and subsidized housing without proper information sharing to determine eligibility status. And, that pisses me off because, again, I grew up in Boston. You know this. And even then, you could be waiting 4 years for housing. And these people, they just drop them right in. It's crazy. It's crazy that they just get it. You got people, now granted, it's not that way in every place. And it's been a long time since I lived in Boston, but I've heard it could be a maximum of up to a 4-year waiting list when I was in Boston. Because I had looked into it before, back in the 90s. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not waiting 4 years to live where? No. So I can get a little bit of a break in the rent and be in that crappy neighborhood. No way. I already grew up in a housing project. And as I pointed out, the housing project I grew up in, not the worst. By comparison, it wasn't like Mattapan or Forest Hills or Roxbury or some of the other places that were really dangerous. Mine was tame by comparison. Not something I would be looking forward to. And it's a shame that that illegal immigrants were able to bypass that system and get priority over people that could have been waiting months or even years. It's not right. And that's what they're putting an end to. That's what they say that they're going to be putting an end to. And here's something else that somebody really needs to put an end to. And you'll know what I mean when you see the image. For those of you who are watching, here it comes again. Can't get rid of this person. She's on my list of people that need to just disappear. They need to go somewhere. They need to, that's my wife says, go and sit down somewhere. That's right, Stacey Abrams again in the news. In trouble again. Washington Examiner, Stacey Abrams' new Georgia project faces threat to tax-exempt status after a $300,000 fine. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith wrote a letter to the IRS urging the agency to revoke the tax-exempt status of a nonprofit group founded by Stacey Abrams after it was found to have violated state election law. Quote, I request that you use your authority to make this referral a priority and make certain the IRS moves quickly to examine and revoke the tax-exempt status of the new Georgia project. The Georgia State Ethics Commission fined the new Georgia project, which is aimed at boosting voter registration. Oh, God. $300,000 for failing to disclose $4.2 million in campaign contributions and $3.2 million in expenditures during Abrams' failed bid during Stacey. You got to wonder how she went from being penniless to being a millionaire in just like literally 3 years. I mean, seriously. Smith noted in his letter that the penalty on the new Georgia project, which Abrams departed from in 2017, is possibly the largest ethics fine ever issued in the United States. The GSEC's finding shows the new Georgia project has participated in activities and events outside of the organization's tax-exempt purpose and should therefore lose its tax-exempt status and be reclassified as an action organization. The GSEC's investigation revealed that the new Georgia project had accepted contributions and made expenditures to advocate the campaigns of Abrams and other state candidates. Now, here's my question. What exactly does the Georgia project do? It's the new Georgia project, and it's supposed to boost voter registration. For all the millions of dollars in taxpayer money and donations that the new Georgia project pulls in, can they demonstrate that they got anybody to the polls? They're supposed to boost voter registration. If somebody wants to vote, aren't they just going to go do it? Or if they want to register, aren't they just going to do it? Never mind the fact that you're automatically registered when you go to the DMV anyways in Georgia. You go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, they're going to register you without even telling you. And there are several services that do that kind of crap. Okay? So who's being overlooked that's not getting registered, that tens of millions of dollars need to get poured into this organization for them to turn around and break the law by making political donations to Democrats, Stacey Abrams in particular? Her own charity donates to her from tax dollars and donations. And shouldn't that warrant more than a $300,000 fine? She got her millions. I mean, seriously. Seriously. I'm so tired of seeing this woman. So tired of seeing this woman. It's like she just won't go away. And again, she went from having literally nothing, having no savings, 20,000. We looked her up like last year to whatever her current status is. Whatever her current status is. Okay, let me see here. All right, her net worth in 20. Okay, this is what I'm getting at. Now, let me see if I can pull this up. Net worth 2018. Is that it? Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull this up, and then I'm going to try to find her current status. Brian wants to know if my wife ever got out of opting out of the political mailings. She had gone through the hoops, and they told her that she was no longer registered because she wanted to be off the voter registration. That is her net worth when she ran for governor the first time, what you're seeing right there, $109,000. Okay. They told her that she was off, but then she still got mailings anyways. They put her back in. So they okey doked her. They okey doked her. But that was her net worth in 2018. 2018, when she was running for election the first time. All right, so let me see if I can find her current. If I can find something current for her. Says current net worth. Okay, let me pull this up. Current net worth, $3.5 million. $3.5 million. Is it there? Here it comes. Okay, Stacey Abrams' net worth $3.5 million. And that's not counting her property. She does own a couple of houses. So do that. How do you do that? Paying yourself with frivolous lawsuits against the state out of campaign funding. And nobody has ever called her on it. No one's ever called her on that. Why isn't that being investigated while Georgia district attorneys want to try to drag Trump through the mud? Why is nobody looking into that? She's ripping off Georgia taxpayers. Did she win the lottery? I don't think so. I believe it was 28 lawsuits, all thrown out from between both campaigns, paying her own law firm that she co-owns with her campaign manager. Again, out of her funds, which isn't legal anyways. Never investigated. In just a few short years, goes from $109,000 to $3.5 million, plus property and vehicles. I just don't get it. I tell you, again, I'm in the wrong line of work. I should stop being so nice and just turn into an evil bastard, and then I'll make all kinds of money. But speaking of the lottery, I mentioned the lottery a moment ago. ASUSA article, goodbye $2 Mega Millions lottery tickets. They are going to be changing the Mega Millions. Too many complaints about it. This is the new changes starting April. So next month, Mega Millions is changing. It goes on to say, Mega Millions is one of the most popular lotteries in the United States, often offering enticing jackpots worth hundreds of millions of dollars. However, the game is set to undergo several changes, including price increases for tickets in Tuesday and Friday drawings. Last October, the lottery announced a mega revamp with plans to be bigger and better. Among the enhancement for players, the game will feature improved odds of winning, larger and more frequent jackpots, higher starting prizes, and faster growing prize pools. A built-in multiplier will also be included in every draw. And that is one of the biggest complaints about the Mega Millions and Powerball, because the jackpots are so hard to hit because there's just too many numbers, and all they would have to do is reduce a number for the jackpots to hit more frequently. So I guess that's what they're going to do. But unfortunately, they're going to double the price of the ticket. Instead of $2, it's going to start at $4 now. I believe that's what it says in the article here. They're going to raise it. Oh, no. Worse than that. It says the price of a Mega Millions ticket will be $5 per play. So it's going up 60%. It was $2, now it's going to be $5. $5 a ticket. Incredible. Yeah, Fluke wants to know why Chinese hackers never hit the personal bank accounts of these people. Because they work with them. The country said she's a good investor like Pelosi. Yeah, that must be it. That must be it. I'm sure. Or you could just play Mega Millions. I don't gamble anyways. I know people, oh, you should win the lottery. Yeah, I wish that would be cute. If I could win the lottery, that'll never happen though. Play, I don't gamble. I feel like it would be a waste. You're better off. You have better chance rather of being struck by lightning than you do winning the lottery. I'd rather win the lottery, but then again, like I said, I don't play. Tuck says 5 is half a carton of eggs. Hard pass. No, the price has come down across the country. It's coming down. Turns out if you don't murder the chickens, you get eggs. But yeah, price is going to go up. But I have to question the other complaint, and I've brought it up a few times, is how often it hits in California. The big jackpots all seem to hit in California. And I think that's fishy. 8 out of 10 big jackpots. And again, I know that they're a bigger state, but that just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And now I give you the debt clock. I don't trust the lottery anyway. I think it can be faked. You don't know what their computers are doing. But again, I give you the debt clock with Doge projected savings currently at $241 billion. It looks like it's going to hit 242 by the end of the day, the way it's climbing up there. Hopefully that continues to climb at a steady pace. I would like to see a big jump from Doge, actually. That'd be nice. The better it's doing, the closer we get to eliminating some of that national debt cap. Again, interest on the national debt is the biggest. It's number one, the biggest expense in the United States, interest on the national debt. So with that, we are at the top of the hour. I will remind you again, also, I will not be on Friday. So again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again tomorrow.